Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The world that we are living in is undoubtedly one of Allah's greatest blessings that He has bestowed upon us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us that we are just one of a multitude of creations and communities that He has placed upon this earth. As a result, it's our responsibility that we understand we are a part of a greater community on this dunya, and that we have to understand our roles and responsibilities on this earth, not only to recognize our place, but to understand that we are its custodians and we are responsible for safeguarding it. As a result, it is not only fardul ayn, but it is fardul kifaya as well upon us to protect and preserve the planet. Fardul ayn in the sense that each individual has a responsibility toward the planet, and fardul kifaya that we have a collective and a communal responsibility. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا, that the servants of the Almighty, the Most Merciful, are those who walk upon the earth humbly. What does this mean? It means that we are expected to understand we are not the creators, the masters, the sustainers, or the cherishers of this dunya. We are in actual fact people who have been given residency on this dunya, and we have a responsibility towards it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us in the Qur'an, وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَكُمْ خَلَائِفَ الْأَرْضِ وَرَفَعَ بَعْضَكُمْ فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ دَرَجَاتٍ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ فِي مَا آتَاكُمْ. That it is He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that has made us His vicegerents, His deputies on this dunya, and that we are going to be tested in relation to this responsibility. So what this means is that we are not the creators, we are not the owners of this dunya. We are in actual fact people who have been given a role and a responsibility towards understanding, towards appreciating, and towards safeguarding this world. This is what the word Khalifa means. We are caretakers, and as a result of this responsibility of being caretakers, we need to first and foremost understand the importance of the world that we are living in, educate ourselves in relation to this, understand the importance of what we have, what Allah has given us, and then to actively, individually and collectively play a role in this. So how do we do that? First of all, we need to understand that the part of recognizing the dunya that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an, ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ. That corruption on this earth is not going to happen through other means, it's going to happen through what these hands of ours are going to be responsible for. So what does that mean? Well, look around you, read the reports, listen to the news, hear the experts. They are telling us that we are going through the resources of this dunya at an alarming rate. In actual fact, it's from the spiritual aspect, the greed of human beings, which is a responsible element in this. We are becoming more greedy day by day, and we are tapping into the reserves of the earth which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us to use responsibly in an unresponsible manner. If you think about it, we are drilling for oil at an alarming rate. We are tapping into the natural gases and elements of the earth. We are, as a result of that, creating things which we cannot get rid of in a safe manner. Plastic being one key element here. And we find this in almost everything that we use. So when you use these things, for example, if you are using cosmetics and face washes and things, when you wash your faces, all that goes into our water supply, which ends up in the ocean. So therefore you find plastic in the ocean, you find in all forms. And as a result, when we burn things, we are polluting the environment, the skies. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, that ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam in his life educated us that we need to be responsible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, كُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. Eat, drink, and do not waste. And the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam informed us, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. Even though this hadith talks about responsibilities toward other individuals, in the context of the hadith, it's also talking about the responsibility towards the dunya and those creatures that inhabit the dunya. So when you look at it in that sense, look at the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was very, very responsible in everything that he did. He did not waste water, he did not waste food, He did not waste any items which he utilized. When his clothes were torn, he did not go and buy a new pair. He repaired his clothes, he repaired his shoes. When the Prophet ﷺ was using water, he instructed the companions how to make wudu. He taught them how to eat. So when you look at these things and you look at the resources that we have at our hand, we realize that everything is finite and that we bear a responsibility towards these things. So from a collective and an individual perspective, we need to study the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, and we need to appropriate that in our lives in order to understand that how we are going to save the planet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to understand our roles and responsibilities on this dunya, to take care of those things which are around us in the environment. If we're to cut trees down, replant trees. If we're to use water, use it sensibly. If we're to eat food, eat it in moderation. And the creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are a part of the ecosystem, whether it be ducks, whether it be geese, whether it be lions, whether it be any of the creature that inhabits the earth, we have a responsibility towards them to safeguard that we don't destroy their environments and create an imbalance in what Allah has given us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses all and help us to preserve the environment.